Hi everyone, welcome to today's Icehouse webinar. Our topic today is why should Kiwi small businesses embrace well-being? What a great subject, a very important topic for both our business owners and our employees inside of these businesses. So this webinar will provide insight and practical tools that can be easily implemented. And this webinar is in partnership with Xero, who are definitely leaders in this field. They're going to present the webinar today, and to do that we have Phil Crothers, who is a learning experience business partner at Xero. So welcome Phil, thanks for being with us.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me. I'm Phil Crothers. I've been with Xero for, it'll be 6 years in September.
Wow.
And so I'm lucky enough to spend most of my time helping teams, helping develop high-performing teams through coaching and mentoring, through creating learning content, through helping people understand and trust one another and really build that well-being space. So I'm really excited to be here and talk on such an important subject with you all today.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Thank you, Phil. And feel free to present. And then afterwards, we will have some Q&A with some questions I've got stored away for you.
Choice. All right, team, we'll go ahead and get these slides up and going.
Perfect.
So, why should Kiwi small businesses embrace well-being? Well, quite a lot of reasons actually. For an industry that's responsible for 28% of New Zealand's GDP and employing more than 630,000 people, there's plenty of reasons why small business owners need to make well-being a priority. So last year, COVID-19 pushed well-being to the forefront for all of us and just showed us the importance of looking out for one another in the workplace. But we need to make sure that we hold on to these benefits as a country. You know, we've known for a while, and I've personally known for a long time, that well-being is important to who we are and how we behave. But now we categorically know that well-being delivers efficiency and productivity gains for businesses. So, put simply, if small businesses are ignoring well-being, then you're wasting money. So the key takeaway for me is happier employees are healthier employees, and healthier employees are more productive overall. So investing in making employees happier and healthier from a well-being perspective will ultimately make businesses more productive. So we know happier staff are more productive and they're more connected to their work, so they're more likely to get happiness and drive out of the work that they're doing every day. So we did some work with the New Zealand Institute of Economic Research, so NZIER, to quantify what the value of increased wellbeing is in monetary terms. What we found out was really interesting and quite astounding, to be honest. We were able to figure out a dollar ROI figure for increased productivity due to wellbeing improvements. So, for example, on average, an employee's decision-making and productivity is negatively impacted by poor mental health for around 3 months intermittently across an entire year if nobody intervenes. If nobody has a conversation, nobody notices that they're having a hard time. But imagine what this would mean for the economy as a whole if people engage with these programs right at the beginning, right when they notice something wasn't quite right, instead of waiting for a critical point where someone's hit mental health crises or is having a really bad time. But before we really get into that, we need to differentiate the difference between two key areas for well-being. So we have what we call employment assistance programs, or EAPs, and then there's organisational wellbeing. So the first type of wellbeing program we looked at with NZIER was employment assistance programs, or those EAPs. These are great, but they're often reactive, so they're offering people support after they've already been suffering the negative effects of poor wellbeing, or we've noticed a crisis, or someone's hitting a low point. And there's absolute benefits to providing these types of service to employees. In fact, I would say they're essential and critical. But our NZIER research reveals that the investment in these EAP programs has an average return on investment of 3.6 to 1 and up to 5 to 1, or an average return of $3.60 for every dollar that you spend on EAP. So pretty good returns there, right? So the obvious takeaway here is that while there's a benefit to offering these programs, businesses are much better off making wellbeing a priority to begin with. So in fact, All Xero customers, in fact, and their whānau have access to free counselling sessions through the Xero Assistance Program, or ZAP as we call it, because life can be hard, but getting help shouldn't be, and getting treated and being looked after shouldn't be. So as a leader, you don't have to have all the answers. In fact, I'd be surprised if you had many of them, and you shouldn't. But being an empathetic leader goes a really long way. So the Xero Assistant Program offers free and confidential counselling to Xero customers, accounting and bookkeeping partners, their staff and their families. You can access counselling in a way that suits you. So that could be in person, could be over the phone, online via video like we're doing now, perhaps a live chat. And we've recently reached a new milestone, which is really cool. So we have over 1 million Kiwis now available to access the services that we offer through ZAP. So this program is run by Benestar, who are experts in mental health services, and they provide all of our EAP services to Xero's own employees as well. So on the other hand, taking a proactive approach and fostering employee wellbeing as a core tenet of business is good for both the people and the organisation. So promoting wellbeing can help prevent that stress and create positive work environments where individuals and the organisation can thrive. So good health and wellbeing can be a core enabler of employment engagement and organisational performance. So when we talk about organisational wellbeing, that's the creation of a supportive workplace from the ground up. So our work with NZIER found that organisations that invest in organisational wellbeing, so right at the beginning of the journey as part of their business, they stand to achieve an average return of it's 5 to 1. So $5 gain in productivity for every dollar that you spend. And you may have seen recently that figure can go as high as $12 for every dollar that you spend. So for any single dollar that's spent on any wellbeing initiative can go up to $12, which is pretty awesome. So an example, a really good example of what we've done here as far as organisational wellbeing is our check-in. So according to NZIER, businesses who take the heart of the advice that we've compiled in this document for everyone, they stand to achieve about 8.5 to 1, so $8.50 in productivity gains for every dollar spent on wellbeing. So the goal for us behind the check-in was to make it as easy as possible to implement without costing a lot of time and money. Wellbeing initiatives don't need to cost huge amounts of money, and from what I've seen in my experience over the years in working with other organisations, that thought that they have to spend money has been a roadblock or a barrier for them to even investigating wellbeing. So we know now it doesn't need to cost a lot. So it just starts with that simple action of getting to know your people. Booking some one-on-one conversations with your staff that aren't about work and give them your full attention without judgment. Establishing this relationship means they're going to be more open and honest with you and what's going on in their lives. One of the big questions I get asked within my role is how do you notice when you should be having a mental health conversation with someone or spotting the signs of it? And it's often very difficult, and sometimes there are no signs. So the more you understand people at an individual level, the easier it will be for you to spot when things change. So encouraging our employees as well to build their own connections with one another is super important. We don't want a reliance on just you or just a single person. It helps foster that sense of belonging as well, which is really important. So really simple things like celebrating achievements, hosting a variety of social events. They're just some of the ways that you can help your employees connect and encourage engagement with one another. So the check-in that we have here, it includes advice on how to support others to look after their own mental and physical well-being through those healthy habits. How to make it okay to ask for help is a big one. So this resource is available to anyone. So there's a link in here. You can go to the Xero resources page as well. Just follow the link and it'll take you to everything. We don't expect every small business, by the way, to do all 5 steps, but even implementing one of the steps can make a huge impact to your culture. And I would start with just getting to know your team as my favourite step, and the one that will be most beneficial, in my opinion, long-term for you as well. So strong business results aren't only about investing in the latest technology. You need to invest in your people as well. If you don't have people, you don't have a business. For me, it's as simple as that. I've come to realize that the most important resource in any business or workplace is the people. Thanks to the empathy and support of bosses and leaders that I've had in the past, I truly understand the value in looking after your people. That's the thing that stuck with me, and I've carried that into my role as a leader and a coach. And when I say leader, I don't necessarily mean manager all the time. Leading by example and leading the way that we talk about things. That there's always more to someone else's story. People come to work for 8 hours a day, and some of you who are watching probably think 8 hours, that's an easy day. So, we spend more time there than anywhere else. So to support your people to be happy and productive at work as a leader, you have to create an environment where people feel safe. When we're safe, we can be who we are, and we can bring our entire true selves to work. And all of that starts with you understanding what's impacting their behavior and their attitude. It starts with you showing empathy. We often, all we see is behavior, and then we make a judgment based on what we see, but really understanding what's driving that behavior is the key to having successful connection with people. So we want you to lead with empathy. The other thing we've done is we've created a guide for small businesses called The Next Level. And so this is to encourage and educate small businesses about the benefits of building simple but important wellbeing initiatives into your organization or into your business. So this resource, it's super easy to follow. It's got practical advice for small business owners who want to improve employee wellbeing and productivity. It's nice and easy to follow. Tackling employee wellbeing in the small business economy has the potential to drive significant and much needed national economic productivity benefits for Aotearoa. So Xero is really committed to discussing how we can facilitate and support wellbeing initiatives, growth capability inside all the small businesses right across Aotearoa. It's really important. At the end of the day, the benefits of being an empathetic leader and a supportive, understanding work environment will make a world of difference when it comes to the productivity of your people and employee output. So running a small business, as you all know, and preaching to the choir, it's one of the toughest, if not the toughest jobs on earth. It's never been easy, but it's never been this hard because of the grinding stress and worry, anxiety and fear and all the flow-on effects that we're seeing as part of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've all seen our fair share of ups and downs. Some of you are probably still working through lots of them, I'd imagine. And we've seen our well-being suffer because of it. Empathy matters more now than ever before. And when I'm talking about empathy, I'm not talking about sympathy. I'm talking about really understanding people. So we underestimate just how much of an impact we as leaders and people and managers have on other people's well-being. And that knock-on effect, that flow-on effect that it has on how they do their mahi and how they get involved when they come to work. So I know for me, the majority of times that I've struggled or that I've been unhappy in a work environment, it's been directly related to the interactions I've had with a manager. So the basic definition of empathy is that firstly, you have the ability to recognize, understand, and feel the emotions of other people. And secondly, you can respond appropriately to others' thoughts and feelings. And my personal advice on this is to ask questions. None of us are mind readers. We can never know how someone else is feeling unless we ask and they choose to tell us. And because we've created this really, really safe environment and we're taking the time to engage and know them at an individual level, they're going to be more honest with us when we ask genuine questions. So for me, that empathetic leadership means people feel listened to. They're not just given the space to talk, they actually feel listened to. They feel valued. They feel like they belong. If we can support our people to feel like this every day they come to work, then they become more connected to the purpose. And when they're connected to the purpose, their productivity and their well-being increases. So I believe that empathy and business success are not mutually exclusive. You can achieve outstanding business results from leading a culture focused on well-being. And you don't have to take my word for it. Outside of our own research into the benefits for small businesses specifically, so according to Hiara Oranga report, so the Hiara Oranga report, every dollar that's spent on mental health services in Aotearoa repay the nation $3.50 in productivity gains and other savings. So additionally, the Mental Health Foundation notes that organisations that prioritise employee engagement and wellbeing outperform the industry average by approximately 10%. So that's on the Financial Times Stock Exchange 100 Index. So if you pay attention to others' emotions, you can pick up on the shifts and the changes or the actions or the mannerisms, and then consider what's driving that behaviour or attitude. Come back to the idea that there's always more to the story. There's a concept in psychology called fundamental attribution error, where someone behaves a way that we wouldn't. And so we associate it with the way we would behave. So let's say someone's turning up late and we're like, our instant thought is, oh, you're unreliable, you're lazy, etc., right? But we don't actually know why they're late. We haven't taken the time to ask that question. And there's highly likely something else going on underneath the surface there. So it pays to pay attention. So come back to that idea again that there's always more to the story. You may see someone's reaction, you may see their intent or believe you have, but it's what behind that reaction that you need to be conscious of. So empathetic leadership is just recognising when a colleague would benefit from some time off for a personal reason perhaps, or being curious to perspectives different to our own, or just taking a genuine interest in people's lives. This, coupled with the organisational wellbeing approach in small business, will make a world of difference for employee happiness and productivity, something that I feel we should all be focused on as a nation. So that's enough for me on this. Any questions that I can help with?
So brilliant, Phil. Thank you so much. And lucky I was on mute, because the whole time I was like, wow, and yep, agree, yep. So I think I would have annoyed our watchers and listeners, but no, really awesome insight, really practical too. And totally agree. It's a very important topic. We're scrambling and writing notes too, but a question I have for you. So that $12 for each dollar, how do we measure that rate of investment for mental health? I'm sure our business owners would be interested in that.
It's a really good question. And I mean, the research itself is up on the NZIER website, and there's probably better tools there that will explain how you measure it.
Totally.
But you can quantify it through the data, but you can just see it in the everyday. Like I walk around Xero, we've got nearly 1,000 people here, and just simply the happiness that you see. You can look at the attrition rates of people. You'll see the cut down in people leaving and that churn. You'll certainly see, and what I've seen is a reduced amount of wellbeing days or sick days, if that's what some of you still call them, being taken. People not turning up to work tired, people having to sneak off for coffees or go out, to recharge themselves. All those little benefits add up to the fact that, you're getting that money back. More time spent actually doing the work, less time on time off, etc., to recoup. Those are the main benefits that you'll be able to see and be able to measure as far as the ROI goes.
Totally. And I like what you said about, when you give employees the space to do that, they actually become more passionate about what they're working on, and therefore their productivity. If you're passionate about it, you're productive in it, and so their productivity just increases massively. So that's great.
Absolutely.
As a business owner, what are things they can do personally to improve mental health and find more work-life balance? We've touched on things, but anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think it starts because, I've spoken to small business owners. They always say, well, I have to run the business. If I'm not there, the business doesn't run itself. And completely understand and completely agree with you. And that can cause stress. So it just has to be little things, tiny little things. It starts with, and we know through a lot of research, it starts with understanding yourself. So I'll take mindfulness, for example. We ran some mindfulness courses at Xero, which were great. I'm mindfulness in that sort of sense doesn't really work for me. And so if I'm going into a mindfulness space or meditation, then I'm actually going to be distracted. It's not going to be helpful. But the concept of that mindfulness is important. So I know that for myself, if I'm really, really stressed, I can jump on my motorbike and go for a hoon for 30 minutes. And I'm super focused and my mind is super clear. So I would start with understanding what wellbeing actually looks for you. And then just bringing little things into your day. It could be something simple as, a water challenge. I'm going to make sure that I drink 2 litres of water a day, or I'm going to put in 5-minute breaks throughout my day to go for a quick walk, or to whatever it is that works for you. But just being mindful and being aware of what that looks for you, and then starting with micro things, and then hopefully building it up as you get more comfortable with it.
That's an important thing to note, though, is that it doesn't look the same for everyone. So,
No.
yeah, the things that are sort of put out there as the best things to do may not actually work for you. So make sure you take some time out to find out what the things are that fill your tank and make you more productive as well, which is cool.
Absolutely. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just find something that does. Don't feel like you have to go to that yoga class because everybody else is. And it doesn't have to be massive. You don't have to take weeks on end off. It's whatever works for you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Cool. Another question I have here is, what are practical things Xero does to look after their staff? You have mentioned a couple, but anything else on that one?
Yeah, look, we've got heaps. We're very, very lucky and very privileged. So simple things, even just changing the name from sick days to wellbeing leave, and just recognise, because when it's sick leave, it says to the brain, oh, if we're physically ill, we take a break, but it is for our well-being. We've basic things like there's fruit. We get fruit delivered. Everybody gets a volunteering day a year, so we're encouraged, and we know that when people that connection to purpose that I spoke about, when we connect to things that are important to us and use our skills to not only help a business but to help other people, that increases our well-being. Flexible working policies where those hours of work, the old school mentality of you have to work 9 to 5, and small business owners, I know you're sitting there thinking, what's a 9 to 5? We probably haven't had one of those in a very long time. Being able to work when we need to, being able to juggle our families and those types of things. So those are just some of the things. We have access to gyms. We're very, very lucky, and I don't expect anybody else to go and build a gym in their workplace or anything like that. But for me, anyway, it's those tiny little things. There's that freedom and ability to look after my well-being that I cherish the most.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. That's great. Cool. How do you strike a balance so staff don't take advantage of things like flexible working and other mental health initiatives?
Great question.
One.
So for me, in my opinion, when you have a safe environment, when you've created a safe environment and you have trust, people generally don't take advantage. And if they do, that's another conversation, deal with it then. Yeah. But I feel if you approach a situation without trust, so back in the day, and I know people that have worked in areas of government where the mindset has been, you can't work from home because you won't work. Now, they're basing that on a story that they've told themselves. It's not real. They have no reason to believe that. And so that distrust creates that environment. There's a company in the US called NextGen who brought in unlimited sick leave and unlimited annual leave for their staff. Over the space of 2 years, what they noticed is that staff were taking less leave.
Yeah.
But if somebody was to say, let's say, some such and such has taken 9 weeks leave, it's probably an indicator. What's actually going on for that person? Can I have a conversation? So to go back to the question, I wouldn't stress about it too much. I would treat them on a case-by-case basis, but when you create that environment of safety and trust and people are connected to purpose, as I said, their productivity scores are higher, so they're unlikely to take a negative advantage, I should say, of those perks.
Yeah, totally agree. Awesome. And one more I have here. Are there any tools business owners can use that Xero offers? And there are a few that you have mentioned, and I will make sure to put them in the show notes because it's, a link to those tools would be really helpful for our business owners, and obviously even more tools when they are Xero customers. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So if you're a Xero customer, you have access to our EAP program, so ZAP.
Yeah.
And so that's available to your staff and families for us as well. The documents we've created, the check-in, you can get through the link there through our website and our resources page, but we'll share that link. And then we've created the next level as well, which I spoke about. But you'll notice when you go through them, the foundation and thinking behind them is really, really simple. It's just little things that we need to do. And once you know people a little bit more and you really understand the motivators and drivers of your staff, they will start giving you suggestions about what looks good for them. I've been in organizations before where they've gone, here's $1,000 every year for your well-being, and we're going to give free lunches and all of these things. And for the majority of us, we're like, that's really nice, but we don't utilize it.
Yeah.
And so we don't want you spending money on things that your people don't want. So getting the advice or direction from them is always helpful. And then there's websites, like the mentalhealth.org website is amazing. There's so many great tools on there. They're free tools. The 5 Ways to Wellbeing at Work is one of my favorites, which is sponsored through the Mental Health Foundation. There's plenty of stuff out there. So really there is, in my opinion anyway, there's no excuse not to be focusing or looking into our own well-being as well as those of our people.
Yeah, I love what you said as well around you don't need to do every single thing that you read, but just start by choosing one thing. And the one you mentioned is get to know your team. Like how easy and great is that? Get to know your team, take that first step, and then ask if you notice something different about them, or just keep asking questions and get to know them better, which I love. Yeah, so thank you so much, Phil. This life can be hard, but getting help shouldn't be. Totally agree with that. And Xero is such a leader in this space. So I appreciate your time, and I know our business owners and employees and leaders in those businesses would really enjoy this webinar. So thank you.
Certainly hope so. Thanks for having me.